Brand owners in industries as diverse as food, alcohol, cosmetics, cars have experienced in recent years how some of those societal discussions can have a significant impact on the brand reputation. Now, just to illustrate this, here is, just take a case which is digital marketing and privacy. We all agree that digital marketing platforms are critically important for us going forward in order to be connecting with consumers. For the simple reason that this is where consumers are today, and this is where consumers will be in the future in even bigger numbers. And here's a reality check. WFA ran a poll in 2010 among 25,000 people in 50 countries. And we asked them how much they trusted the different media and marketing platforms. And guess what? Online marketing platforms, with the only exception of brand websites, all the other online marketing platforms have huge trust deficits compared to existing traditional media platforms. Now, the reason why this is the case is that many of those people which we interviewed have this perception that marketers are spying on internet users. According to the Wall Street Journal poll, 60% of users are very alarmed and 25% of users are somewhat alarmed about being tracked by marketers online. Now, I find these figures pretty shocking. The chief suspects for this are the cookies. You all know what cookies are. These are text files which are stored by browsers on a user's machine and which help serve tailored ads to the user, to the consumer. And what these figures show in a pretty straightforward manner is, as an industry, we have failed to explain the benefits of tailored, relevant ads to consumers. And let me do a prediction here. If we don't get our act together, if we don't address this misconception about behavioral advertising, about targeted advertising, this has the potential of seriously undermining the potential of growth of the digital ecosystem. So against this pretty challenging background of disruptive changes, connectivity, globalization, change of consumer behavior, regulatory pressure, here's the $1 million question. How do we future-proof our brands? I don't want to pretend this is anything like straightforward, and I think most marketers are still in a trial and error phase. But let me nevertheless share with you what I think are 4 important recommendations going forward. My first recommendation is engage with the total consumer experience, or put differently, you can't salami the consumer experience. The brand reputation of an airline company is as much shaped by the quality of its food, by the friendliness of its flight attendants, as it is by the performance of the baggage handlers. It is one and the same thing, and it contributes to one and the same thing, that is the consumer experience. Now, it took United Airlines some time to figure that out. And here's a real story. A band called Sons of Maxwell was flying from Canada to Nebraska with a stopover in Chicago. And while in transit, Dave Carroll, who's the singer in that band, noticed that baggage handlers were throwing around the guitars of the band on the tarmac. He talks to the flight attendant, and the flight attendant says, "None of my job, sorry, can't help." He talks to the ground staff, and the ground staff respond to him, "You know, this is precisely why we have passengers sign waivers before they book their tickets." And indeed, a bit later in that day, he realized that a number of the guitars of the band, $3,000 guitars, have been damaged. He spends the next 6 months trying to connect with customer service at United. In Canada, in Chicago, in New York, and he fails. United don't want to talk to him. Dave is a singer, so what does he do? He writes a song. And next thing he does, he puts it on YouTube. And you know what? 10 million hits on YouTube. And that's where United gets in touch with him. Now, the second thought I'd like to leave with you is the importance of the big idea. In a world of almost limitless connectivity, it is the power of the creative idea that matters and less the size of the checkbook. If a brand can come up with a big idea, an idea that expresses a brand promise, which people can relate to, which people want to share, it can move mountains. And at a time where role and remuneration of creative ideas is being hotly debated, and we had a good conversation with Modi and Igal yesterday night over dinner, it is a powerful reminder of what a simple, great idea can do to business. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Coca-Cola Happiness Machine campaign. This campaign cost Coca-Cola $50,000. It reached 2 million people in 2 weeks, over half of them outside of the US. It got 95% of positive comments. Coke spent zero promoting it. 1 status update on Facebook and 1 tweet. That's it. Now, the third thought I'd like to share with you is the importance of corporate reputation. And to quote Larry Light, the ex-CMO of McDonald's, trust is a must. Now, look at these survey results. A global research on which factors contribute to overall corporate reputation. Factors such as trustworthiness, honesty, transparency score as highly as the quality of the product of a company. And they score more highly than innovation and admiration. So put simply, the challenge for the modern brand is to be the hero rather than the villain. And keeping in mind that changing status from hero to villain goes much faster than the other way around. Now, let me give you a very concrete case where the line between hero and villain can be very thin. If you were to make a timeline between being a hero and a villain, this is what it would look like. A societal debate normally starts with what we call scientific alerts. Now, suddenly, you have a new research highlighting that kids are getting fatter, that adolescents start binge drinking, scientific alerts which raise the awareness in a society on a given problem. NGOs typically use those alerts as a foundation for the campaign, and no doubt NGOs are very good campaigners. Media pick up these themes and amplify them. Just look at the incredible coverage in the media of obesity. And inevitably, this has an impact on consumers, and it influences the political agenda. It is only when the process leads to a social trend that it reaches what I would call the corporate radar screen. And that's too late. Whatever the marketing response and the commitment to ethical standards, you are in the category of the villain. In order to be a hero in this world and to remain a hero, you need to act and react much earlier, when the issue is being debated and before it reaches the consumer. The scary thing is this can happen in a very short time frame. The discussion around food and obesity and food marketing started in 2004-2005. In a space of 5 to 6 years, this discussion has totally changed the way you market foods around the world in 5 to 6 years. And the fourth and final recommendation I'd like to share with you is the need for your brand to have a purpose. Why do brands need a purpose? After all, there are so many of brands around which have built a successful track record without having a purpose. Now, I would argue that brands need to stand for something in today's world for mainly 2 reasons. One is because in an increasingly competitive market environment, brands increasingly struggle to distinguish themselves from others, and they need to be adding value to consumers. And the other reason is because branding with a purpose creates a unique opportunity to connect with people more deeply at a totally different level. And I would argue that it is those marketeers which will embrace branding with a purpose which will best leverage the potential of social media. Now, to illustrate this, I'd like to share with you one last video from Brazil. The company is called Luta. It's a new fightwear and lifestyle clothing brand which brings together fight performance, style, and mission. It spends 50%, 50, half of its total revenues helping kids and adolescents in favelas. So it reinvests half its total revenues in helping kids and adolescents in favelas in Brazil. It's a great case because it's a genuine case, and it's great because it's a small company which has big ambitions. Please see the video.
Dizem que você vence uma luta antes de entrar no ringue.
They say the fight is won before you enter the ring.
Na favela você começa a lutar no dia em que
In
você...
my favela, you start fighting the day you were born.
Essas ruas levaram meu pai.
These streets took my father,
E elas quase me levaram também.
and they wanted to take me too.
Eu poderia ter pego uma
I
arma,
could have picked up a gun,
mas escolhi um caminho diferente.
but I chose a different path.
Às vezes, eu pensava
At
que eu não
times,
ia
I
conseguir.
thought I wouldn't make it,
Mas apesar de tudo, nunca
but I
desisti.
never quit, no matter what.
Força real é sacrificar tudo por um sonho que
Real
só você
strength
pode ver.
is sacrificing everything for a dream that only you can see. The real fight is getting there.
Na hora que eu entro,
So when I enter the ring,
já sei que sou vencedor.
I know I've already won. Luta clothing, born of real strength.
Great stuff. For those of you who plan to be at the annual general meeting of WFA in New York in mid-March, Luke Doudney, who is the founder of Luta, will be speaking there, and he's a truly inspiring guy. Now, I'd like to say a few words in conclusion. We live in interesting times. We're witnessing disruptive changes on a scale and on a speed which very few of us would ever have predicted. A world that is now essentially flat and more connected than any time before in history. Consumer behavior and attitudes that are changing beyond recognition. And if that wasn't enough, regulators which are piling pressure on our industry. That makes it a pretty challenging, but also a very exciting environment for marketers. Now is not the time where you can rely on established ways of doing business. Now is the time to be bold. So my message to you, be bold. Thank you for your attention. Toda shalom.